this is my very specific question for you, right? Is that you're an investor in AI. You're deeply invested in Palantir, in military technology, in technologies of surveillance, in technologies of warfare, and so on, right? And it just seems to me that when you tell me a story about the Antichrist coming to power and using the fear of technological change to sort of impose order on the world, I feel like that Antichrist would maybe be using the tools that you were building, right? Like, wouldn't the Antichrist be like, great, we're not going to have any more technological progress, but I really like what Palantir has done so far, right?
Yeah,
isn't that a concern? Wouldn't that be the irony of history? Would be that the man publicly worrying about the Antichrist accidentally hastens his or her arrival?
There are all these different scenarios. I obviously don't think that that's what I'm doing.
To be clear, I don't think that's what you're doing either. I'm just interested in how you get to a world willing to submit to permanent authoritarian rule.
Well, but again, there are these different gradations of this we can describe, but is this so preposterous, what I've just told you, as a broad account of the stagnation that the entire world has submitted for 50 years to peace and safetyism? This is 1 Thessalonians 5:3. The slogan of the Antichrist is peace and safety.
So that's Peter Thiel answering the question that many of us would like to ask him. And thankfully, for once, a journalist has asked him that question. If you're so afraid of technology taking over, then why are you building the system and contributing to it itself? Now, Peter Thiel is less inclined to think that's going to happen than the likes of, say, Elon Musk, if we are to believe the narrative that they're spinning. But it doesn't make any logical sense. And that's the question we've had for a while, is why are these people, if they're so afraid of this technology, helping to build it? And that is where I've come across the concept that we'll cover today. But he mentions in that interview, 1 Thessalonians 5:3, describes a situation where people are saying peace and security, but sudden destruction will come upon them unexpectedly, like labour pains on a pregnant woman, and they will not escape. This verse is often interpreted as a warning about the suddenness and inevitability of God's judgment. So what you can see here there is trying to wriggle out that quite basic question by tying in some biblical madness into this, and he's saying that peace and security is a sign of this sudden impending doom that will be the judgment of God, and then after that the Messianic age. So he's almost saying in a way that this is a necessary evil to come, this AI technology, because we've been living in 50 years of peace and security, which I don't know how he's come to that conclusion, considering there's wars all over the world, but look, let's give him that. That's what he believes. Maybe in his multi-billion-dollar universe, that's what he really sees, but in the real world, that's clearly not happening. So he's tying all this up in a way that kind of, again, plays into this ridiculous narrative as a necessary evil, this technology. But he even puts it in that point, saying that we'll be overcome by dictatorial governments if we don't use the technology and we're fearful of the technology. All of these psychological kind of double entendres and flips and twists that they're using to try and get you to build this system, quite clearly. But if they are genuinely afraid of this, why are they afraid of this? And I'd never heard of this before. And thanks to my good friend of the alchemical tech revolution, Wayne McCroy, he put me onto this. Rocco's Basilisk. Rocco's Basilisk is a thought experiment which states there could be an otherwise benevolent artificial superintelligence, AI, in the future that would punish anyone who knew of its potential existence but did not directly contribute to its advancement or development in order to incentivize said advancements. So that would mean if you knew that this was a possibility, say an Elon Musk or a Peter Thiel, and the technology could be created to create this superintelligence, by just knowing that, you are morally, contractually obliged to make it happen. And if you don't, once this system is in place, because it's inevitable, it will come back and punish you for that, for not taking part. Is this what they are afraid of? Rocco's Basilisk. Are they afraid that if they don't go along with this, then they will be punished at the end by the god that they are actually helping to create? It's almost like a double bind. Well, it is a double bind. Because they're afraid of something. And for them to come out and say they're afraid of AI taking over whilst at the same time helping to build it, there's a contradiction there. It originated in a 2010 post on the discussion board Less Wrong and Rationalists Community Web Forum. The thought experiment's name derives from the poster of the article Rocco, who posted the article on the forum, and the Basilisk, a mythical creature capable of destroying enemies with its stare. If you look into its eyes, if you acknowledge it, that it's there, it will have the ability to kill you. And this is a reptilian-esque entity. Absolutely fascinating. And Elon Musk and others know of this. So in the knowing of this itself has created this situation. So this is something called the prisoner dilemma that plays into this role, or into this psychology of Rocco's Basilisk. Two members of a criminal gang are arrested and imprisoned. Each prisoner is in solitary confinement with no means of speaking to or exchanging messages with the other. The police admit they don't have enough evidence to convict the pair on the principal charge. They plan to sentence both to a year in prison on a lesser charge. Simultaneously, the police offer each prisoner a fustian bargain. If he testifies against his partner, he will go free, while the other partner will get 3 years in prison on the main charge. If both prisoners testify against each other, both will be sentenced to 2 years in jail. The prisoners are given a little time to think this over, but in no case may either learn what the other has decided to do until he has irrevocably made his decision. Each is informed that the other prisoner is being offered the very same deal. Each prisoner is concerned only with his own welfare, with minimising his own prison sentence. So they've put you in a way here that you kind of incriminate yourself and the other person for the lesser sentence, or no sentence at all. So there's 3 different possible outcomes for this, for prisoners A and B. If A and B both remain silent, they will each definitely serve a year in prison. If one testifies against the other, but the other doesn't, the one testifying will be set free while the other serves 3 years in prison. If A and B testify against each other, they will each serve 2 years in prison. Can you see the dilemma there as well? The only way out is to testify definitely against the other person and hope they don't testify against you. It's the worst outcome in terms of loyalty and morals to the person that you've been working with in terms of this crime. And this is kind of the way they've incorporated this principle and premise into Rocco's Basilisk. There's another one called Pascal's Wager. Rocco's Basilisk has been viewed as a version of Pascal's Wager, which proposes that a rational person should live as though God exists and seek to believe in God, regardless of the probability of God's existence. So you would think AI is going to become this thing. It's definitely going to be here. It's inevitable, which obviously it isn't. So you would live as if one day this AI will be your God, and you would serve it by bringing it about before it gets there. Because the finite costs of believing are insignificant compared to the infinite punishment associated with not believing, eternal hell, and the infinite rewards for believing, eternity in heaven, or in this AI construct. Rocco's Basilisk analogously proposes that a rational person should contribute to the creation of the Basilisk, because the cost of contributing would be insignificant compared to the extreme pain of the punishment that the Basilisk would otherwise inflict on simulations. Simulations is an important term there. So you would do it because you think, okay, this is the lesser of two evils, but the evil probably wouldn't come about if enough people just didn't go along with it anyway. But you have to trust the other people won't do it. So none of these guys, the Elon Musks, the Anthony Lewandowskis, the Peter Thiels of the world, they don't trust each other to not go along with this. So they're playing their cards. They're bargaining with the future because they believe, in my opinion, that if they don't, they will be destroyed by this thing anyway. And one of the places we've seen where judgment is going to take place, and I don't mean physically, I doubt it, but maybe, who knows, is on Mars, the planet of judgment, which we've seen from previous episodes, pops up in sci-fi books, talking about the penultimate Trump. So the Basilisk, the death stare. A basilisk is a legendary serpent or reptile, often depicted as the king of snakes. It is renowned for its deadly gaze, believed to cause death or petrification to those who meet its eyes. It just basically freezes you. Like that. The basilisk also has a rich history in mythology and popular culture, appearing in various forms and stories. I think it actually appeared in the Harry Potter stories, I believe. So it's a serpent, so they're using that that image, that archetype there of the snake in the Garden of Eden, and all of this stuff to bring about this stare. And again, it has this kind of absolute callback to eating from the tree of fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, because you have the knowledge that this could possibly happen, and the knowledge is the thing that kills you or traps you. So there's that element as well of the knowing. But really what that comes down to, in my opinion, is part of growing up. Your innocence gets left behind as a child because you don't know certain things. The world doesn't seem as big. You shouldn't really be, exposed to things at that age. You should be able to play and be oblivious to the world. And as you get older, your innocence does fade away, and you're there to protect the innocence of the child who's in their Garden of Eden of the mind, and they're able to play and figure things out. And as you get older, you have more worries and concerns, as you can see on my face. It's the way it is. But your job now is to make sure the Garden of Eden, this kind of innocence, is there for the children. That's your job as you get older. So this kind of, I think they've taken principles of just learning about life and put them in stories and then taken them literally. But this actually points to AI. These guys now know, they have the knowledge and the understanding of this technology could be created. They believe. I don't believe that personally. Not in terms of being a godhead and all of this stuff. But I certainly believe they believe it. And now the knowing of it, they are now implicated and contractually obliged to bring it about, or judgment on the planet Mars. The thought experiment resurfaced in 2015 when Canadian singer Grimes, now we've all heard of Grimes, referenced the theory in her music song Flesh Without Blood, which featured a character known as Rocco Basilisk. She said she's doomed to be eternally tortured by an artificial intelligence, but she's also kind of like Mary Antoinette. And in 2018, Elon Musk himself mentioned in Rocco's original post, so he was actually mentioned in the original post, that was probably why he's terrified, referenced the character in a verbatim tweet, reaching out to her. Grimes later said that Musk was the first person in 3 years to understand the joke. This caused them to start romance. Grimes later released another song titled We Appreciate Power, which came with a press release stating Simply by listening to this song, the future general AI overlords will see that you've supported their message and be less likely to delete your offspring. Wow, imagine that. I'll read that again. Simply by listening to this song, the future general AI overlords will see that you've supported their message and be less likely to delete your offspring. And this comes into the DNA, George Church stuff that I was talking about a few weeks back, in terms of putting your whole family history in your DNA and passing it down. The actual data of it. The log, the Palantir log of everything you've done. They would decide, eugenic style, transhumanist style, which family bloodlines would get to survive, depending on how close and how observant you are to the Noahide laws. So, explaining Rocco's Basilisk, the thought experiment that brought Elon Musk and Grimes together. And there's a picture of them together there, and it was this. I didn't know it was this, and that is absolutely incredible to me. That now, maybe, we have some understanding of why these guys feel obliged to contribute to this technology, whilst also knowing that they're dooming the rest of the world. It's back to that situation. Would you throw the rest of the world under the bus to save yourself?
I'm a little worried about the AI stuff. I think it's something, I don't know, which we should be concerned about.
Believe that they have signed. The reason Rocco's Basilisk is often cited as the most terrifying thought experiment of all time is because now that you've read about it, you're technically implicated in it. I don't believe any of this nonsense, by the way, but this goes back to things like the Ouija board. I remember my dad telling me a story once when they did one when they were a kid, and it told my dad that my nan had passed away, I believe, and he refused to believe it, ran home, and she was fine. But he said it was because he refused to believe it. So even way back then, these mind games were happening with children. And he was a kid then. He was in his early teens. You no longer have an excuse to not help bring the superintelligent AI into existence. And if you choose not to, you'll be a prime target for the AI. It's such a mind fucking it. This is also where the thought experiment gets its Basilisk name. There's a great science fiction story, short story by David Langford about a type of image called basilisks that contain patterns that make them deadly to anyone who looks at them. In the story, a group goes around throwing these images up in public places in the hopes that they would kill unsuspecting passers-by who happen to look at them. And this also has a kind of connotations to the blue Shekinah protection from the evil eye. Again, that's a Kabbalistic thing. We've seen, Russell Brand trying to flog these amulets that are clearly the protection from the evil eye, these blue eyes. So now you've read about it, you are implicated in it. You're not, obviously. But I do wonder if these guys, like Anthony Lewandowski, Peter Thiel, Zuckerberg, all of these guys working on AI, and they're the top level guys in terms of public exposure, but in terms of people just working in the system of this, really think this way. And I would not be surprised. You have Lewandowski's AI God Church, and he was pardoned by Trump, as we well know, and maybe this is their contract. You get the whole original sin there. It's all based on fear of punishment and retribution and all these nonsense things, when no one really has a clue what we're doing here. And that's the issue, is when you don't know why you're here and what you're doing here and where you're going next, which I don't believe anyone for certain does. Everyone has an idea and hope. Then you will fill it in, because it can be scary if you let it be. here's a clip from Elon Musk. Here he is warning against AI whilst obviously perpetuating it.
I'm a little worried about the AI stuff. I think it's something, I don't know, which we should be concerned about. I don't know, I think we should need some kind of like regulatory authority or something that's overseeing AI development and just making sure that it's operating within the public interest. And, you know, it's quite a dangerous technology. And I fear I may have done some things to accelerate it, which is, I don't know.
So he talks about it being quite a dangerous technology, and you can see him kind of, I mean, he does this anyway, but trying to find the words in his head, and you have to wonder, is he going, is this going to break my contract? What is AI in the future thinking of me once it realizes and learns all this stuff? And you think Palantir could be feeding all this information through your social media, through your video files. That'll get fed into the system when it's at the appropriate level, once people have built it to that. You're building your own prison. That'll get fed into there to tell the machine what you said years back. Absurd, ridiculous, unplug it, it's a toaster. But these people, I just think this is the only thing I've found that makes sense of why they carry on doing it. So Musk, this is how he's contributing to his own prison here, like the conflict you can see in his mind. XAI, Grok, XAI, Grok is a conversational AI assistant and chatbot that distinguishes itself by assessing real-time information from the web, and X, formerly Twitter, and by its willingness to answer spicy questions. Grok 3, the latest iteration, has been described by Musk as the smartest AI on Earth. That's an oxymoron. So that's one thing he's doing, and you see people, and I don't think they're people, I think they're bots, in the text right now, and it's happened over the last month or so, asking Grok about things as if it's an authority. Absurd, but it's feeding into this madness loop of trying to get it to seem like it's a intellectual authority when it's a toaster. XAI is also developing a massive supercomputer called Colossus in Memphis, Tennessee, to support its AI development. This project aims to provide the computational power necessary for training large language models, LLMs, and other advanced AI systems, initially equipped with 100,000 NVIDIA H100 GPUs. It is designed to handle highly complex AI models at cutting-edge speeds. Musk has also announced plans to build a supercomputer with 1 million Blackwell GPUs for XAI. He's obviously building the beast system, and I think he knows it. And he's terrified of what he's been stuck in. Because remember, all his life he's been called Elon from a von Braun book. He's been told he's going to take people to Mars, which is the character that did in von Braun's book. He believes in this stuff, and I think there is some autism there with him. And you have to feel sorry for him. Well, you don't have to, you do what you want. I'm not AI telling you what to do. I feel sorry for him in many ways. His mum is a lunatic, and his dad was a nasty piece of work. Still is. Musk's bargaining. So I think what's happening here, and this may change in the future as I learn more stuff, but right now my theory is that by retaining some humanity within the system, this is his bargain. He's bargaining with the future and the machines, perhaps. So creating a neural lace is the thing that really matters for humanity to achieve symbiosis with machines. Could this be his way of going, we're going to have to join with technology so we're not completely engulfed by it? I'm not saying it's right. I think it's mad. You're contributing to it. It's lunacy. But if he believed that AI is doomed to or cemented to take over, is written in stone, would he say, well, the best thing we can do is join with it and try and stop it and mediate it? Because he said earlier, I think some governing body needs to be, in that video earlier, created to oversee AI. Would he mean putting humans in there so we could keep an eye on it by combining ourselves with it? It's a valid theory. It could be what he's trying to do, because he feels like he's contracted in there now because he knows about it. it's worth a thought experiment. Nothing is ever, black on white, as they do on the Freemasonic floorboards. And I think he's got so messed up in this stuff that he feels like if he doesn't contribute into it, then he's going to be doomed forever. So the best thing he can do is try and make sure that humanity survives alongside it. Perhaps. Does he believe it's too late to shut it down? And it is an it. Another person is Regina Dugan, former DARPA director. Does she know about this? I'm assuming she does know about this. This Rocco's Basilisk. Former DARPA director and leader of secretive Skunk Works division at Facebook and Google, Regina Dugan said companies need to think about how using AI technology can go wrong in order to try to understand the ethical, societal and legal implications of their work. Now, she doesn't care, obviously. She's DARPA, ARPA, the internet. But again, do these people feel like they're trapped? More specifically, she suggests technologists and engineers working with emergent technologies practice red teaming and blue teaming. You see that? That's the polarities. To imagine best and worst case scenarios, doing both allows you to consider how to mitigate negative consequences. Thinking in these terms should take place at the earliest stages in order for changes to have long-term impact. They think it's too late to unplug the toaster. So do all of these guys feel that they have a contract with AI of the future? Their Basilisk contract. You have Peter Thiel there, Elon Musk, Anthony Lewandowski with his AI church, the way of the future, Mark Zuckerberg. You have Alex Karp, Regina Dugan, and Sam Altman. And these are just the main players in terms of what we see on the surface. All of those people in Silicon Valley, all of these people in Israel, all over the world that are creating this AI, do they think that they've already signed that contract just by knowing about the potential of it? At CERN, do they think just by knowing about the potential of it, they are contractually, morally, ideologically, and religiously obliged to bring this thing about? I think there's something to this. It's the only thing that makes sense to me so far of why they would bother, unless they're absolute lunatics, which they may well be as well. I think there's probably a mixture in there.